This channel is not just about stories. It's about hidden codes. Codes that lie behind the reality you live in, and perhaps, without realizing it, you've been trying to decipher them for years. Here, each case is a key, a clue, a mirror of what you may also be experiencing. Today, what you will hear seems impossible. But when you understand the universal laws, the impossible becomes just misunderstood. Have you ever made a silent decision, and suddenly, everything around you started to change, without anyone noticing? What if your reality is waiting for just that? An internal choice that no one sees, but the universe feels. She didn't scream, didn't post, didn't warn. It just decided, within her, and the world around simply reconfigured itself. Her name is Ava Thompson. Ava has always been the type of woman who puts everyone first. She was the one who listened to everyone, who solved problems, who carried weights that no one saw. Apparently strong, educated, even admired. But inside, there was a loneliness that grew silently. She smiled when she wanted to cry. He said yes when his entire body was screaming no. And no matter how hard I tried to do everything right, something always seemed to slip through the cracks. The relationships didn't last. Recognition did not come. And what hurt most? It's just that nobody noticed. It was an ordinary night. Ava arrived home from work, left her keys on the counter, and looked at herself in the hallway mirror. There she was. But she looked like a different person. Tired eyes, hunched shoulders, shrunken soul. At that moment, without speaking to anyone, Ava felt it. It was as if something inside her said, "Enough is enough." It wasn't anger. It wasn't desperation. It was clarity. She no longer needed to convince anyone. It didn't need to be accepted, understood, or validated. She just needed if you hear. And that's what he did. In the days that came, Ava began to silently change. He stopped insisting on one-sided conversations, stopped trying to fit into tight spaces. He stopped apologizing for existing. And then, the unbelievable started to happen. People far away began to look for her. Proposals came from unlikely places. Life, as if in a whisper from the universe, began to open up. Nothing changed on the outside, until everything changed on the inside. Because Ava understood, reality is just a reflection of what you believe it to be. And you? Have you ever felt this way? As if you gave your all, and yet felt invisible? Have you ever experienced the burden of smiling to avoid being displeased, even if it hurts you? Write here in the comments, "I've experienced this," if you also feel that something within you is asking for a turnaround. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the explanation of what happened to Ava will open a door that you may have been looking for years. And if this has already moved you, leave a like now and subscribe to the channel. You are not here by chance. The universe speaks when we finally start to listen. Ava didn't tell anyone. Not to her best friend, not to her therapist, not to the diary where she used to pour out everything she felt. She just did it. Silent, almost invisible, but so deep that the universe itself seemed to pause for a moment to listen. It all started that same night she looked in the mirror. There was something in the air. Not explosive anger, but calm clarity. For the first time, Ava didn't see herself as a victim. She saw herself as someone who had forgotten who she was. And this apparently simple realization broke a cycle that had been repeating itself for years without her realizing it. In the days that followed, Ava began to notice subtle but constant movements. People who used to come to her just to vent suddenly disappeared. Empty invitations that she always accepted for fear of displeasing simply stopped arriving. And for the first time, she felt relief instead of rejection. She no longer reacted like she used to. When someone made a rude comment, she didn't flinch or justify it. He just looked silently, with a presence so dense that it was disconcerting. It was as if his energy said everything without needing words. Ava swapped automatic for conscious. Before saying yes, she took a breath. Before trying to please, she asked herself, "Does this hurt me?" And when she realized she was falling into the old pattern of keeping quiet to keep the peace, she stopped. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he just walked. But it stopped. And the more she aligned herself with this new internal stance, the more the external world seemed to respond in an almost mystical way. An ex-boyfriend who had disappeared for months reappeared, saying that he dreamed of her and felt that something had changed. A boss who had never noticed her efforts suddenly praised a report that Ava no longer even remembered sending. But Ava knew. It wasn't about them. It was about her. She started to walk differently. The shoulders were no longer hunched. The forehead was no longer tense. Even his voice changed tone, no longer anxious or hurried, but firm. One day, while walking down the street where she always felt invisible, a child pulled her mother's arm and pointed at her, smiling. "Look, Mom. She shines." Ava smiled, saying nothing. But inside, something was confirmed. She was still in the same body, in the same city, in the same job. But absolutely everything had changed. And the most curious thing, no one saw the exact moment of the turning point, because it happened where human eyes cannot reach. The decision was silent, but the reflection screamed. And perhaps, without realizing it, you are exactly at that point, on the verge of a decision that doesn't need an announcement, just courage, because that's how it starts. No audience, without permission, no noise, but with a force that reprograms the entire reality. And you, have you ever felt like you're on the verge of change, but for some reason, you can't quite cross the line? As if something very big was about to happen, but it always stayed there, almost? Maybe you wake up every day with that strange feeling. Your body wakes up, the routine continues, but inside, it feels like something doesn't fit. As if the life you lead has become too small for who you are becoming. And then you start looking for answers. In videos, in books, in catchphrases on social media. And every word you find seems to say, "You are close." But what is this close? Many people think that the change comes from outside. A new job, a new relationship, a trip, an explosive insight. But what if it's the opposite? And if the universe isn't preparing something to deliver to you? And if he's waiting for you become what will allow delivery? Ava didn't wait for the signal. She was the sign. And maybe that's why you're here now, listening to this story. Because, somehow, your body already feels that there is something asking for passage inside you. Enough is enough that has not yet been said. A realignment that is being postponed. A version of you that is waiting to be chosen. The most curious thing is that this turning point does not come with fireworks. He doesn't arrive with advance notice. Sometimes it's just a look in the mirror, a deep silence at the end of the day, a phrase that someone says without knowing the impact. And perhaps, because of that, you ignored your own signals, because I expected something great, visible, validated. But reality does not obey form. It obeys the frequency. The universe does not respond to what you say. It responds to what you vibrate when no one is watching. And if your vibration is still stuck in the fear of being rejected, in the desperate desire to be noticed, in the constant effort not to bother. Then that is what the universe will continue to mirror. Not because you are unlucky, but because you are unconsciously agreeing to this limited version. Ava understood this the moment she stopped asking for permission to exist. And it wasn't easy. The mind tried to sabotage. The guilt hit. The fear of judgment came strong. But the peace that came after was something that no external approval had ever been able to deliver. And therein lies the secret. Reality doesn't change when everything settles down outside. It changes when you realign what is vibrating inside. So I ask you, what have you been feeding within yourself in the last few days? Which version of you has been commanding your decisions? What if today is the breaking point? You don't need to say anything out loud, nor change everything at once. But maybe, just maybe, the silent decision you've been avoiding making be exactly what the universe is waiting to answer. This is where the mirror principle comes in, and this is perhaps one of the hardest truths to accept, because it puts the power back in your hands. Reality does not respond to what you say, nor to what you publish, nor even to what you say out loud. It reflects exactly what is vibrating inside you, all the time. This is why so many people feel like they are doing everything right, but nothing changes. Because what you want is not yet compatible with what you believe about yourself. You can say 1,000 times that you want to be valued, loved, recognized. But if, deep down, you still feel that you are not worthy of it, reality has no choice. She mirrors. The universe does not judge, does not punish, does not reward. He responds. And that's where the law of mentalism comes in. Everything starts in the mind. The mind is the mold. Vibration is cement. What you think strongly and feel consistently begins to take shape, even if it has not yet manifested itself on the physical plane. Ava couldn't name it at that moment. She had no idea that there was a law called mentalism, or a principle called mirror. But, intuitively, she realized that continuing to vibrate the same story of abandonment, of invisibility, of self-effacement, would only keep her in a cycle. And that's when the law of correspondence was activated. Because, as within, so without. It's not a metaphor. It's a rule. Just as the heart pumps blood throughout the body, what you believe internally flows into every aspect of your reality. Work, relationships, finances, health, self-esteem. Ava changed inside. Not with ready-made phrases or superficial statements. She reconfigured what allowed vibrate. And, as a reflex, the world began to respond differently. But be careful. This change was not made through effort, but through awareness. Because effort comes from the fear of losing. Awareness comes from recognizing that you were never what they accepted you to be. And the most impressive thing is how the universe respects this. When Ava made that internal decision, alone, without fuss, she tuned into a new line of reality. She left the "I need to be chosen" frequency, and entered the "I choose myself" frequency. And this choice, although silent, has a vibration so strong, so clean, that reality could not ignore it. Because the vibration of inner truth does not need shouting. She just needs integrity. That's when everything starts to reorganize. People who no longer vibe with you move away. Situations that used to suck you disappear. And new doors open, almost like magic. But it's not magic. It's vibrational correspondence. Life giving you back exactly what you allowed yourself to be. And that's why change begins in silence. Because the universe does not respond to what is said. He responds to what is true. Ava didn't become someone else overnight. She didn't tear up the contracts of her old life or run away to start over somewhere else. In fact, from the outside, it looked like nothing had changed. She was still in the same apartment, walking the same streets, going to the same job. But inside, everything was another world. And it was this invisible world that began to reorganize everything around it. People kept talking to her, but they reacted differently. It was as if they caught something in the look, in the way they responded, in the absence of effort. Ava no longer tried to fill spaces, nor did she justify her presence. And interestingly, this caused his presence to begin to weigh, not as a burden, but as a vibrational field. It's just that when you stop vibrating lack, absence, the fear of not being enough, everything around you loses its previous reference. Dynamics change because you change. And the most beautiful part, and perhaps most disconcerting, was when Ava realized that she didn't need anyone to change along with her. Before, she believed that transformation would come when the other person apologized, when the world recognized her, when life was finally fair. But the spiritual plot twist happened when she understood that it wasn't about others. It never was. The turning point was not external. It was internal. She did not aggressively break ties, but they dissolved naturally. She didn't shout her new truths. He just started living them. And the universe, silent, precise, mathematical, did the rest. One day, sitting in the cafe where she had previously felt invisible, Ava observed the movement around her and felt something she had never experienced before. Peace. Not that peace that depends on silence or solitude, but the peace of someone who no longer needs to be anything other than themselves. It was there that she understood. All her life, she sought recognition, approval, love, without knowing that these codes are not activated from the outside. They activate when you stop negotiating who you are, and you start to feel like you were before trying to fit into the world's expectations. Sometimes the most powerful change is invisible. There is no dramatic scene, no applause, no advertising on the networks. There is only one enough, said in silence. A frequency that rises without making noise. And the universe, which listens to what you vibrate with much more attention than what you say, responds. Not with promises, but with destiny. Ava didn't transform her life by making a revolution on the outside. She just turned the key inside. And that was enough for everything around to realign itself. What was weight became space. What was absence became presence. And what was waiting became an answer. Because when the decision comes from the soul, reality does not hesitate. She listens. And obey. If at any point in this story you saw yourself reflected, if something inside you recognized this silent call for change, write the word here in the comments, wake up. I want to know who is feeling that the time has come to realign their own vibration with the truth within. And if this message resonated with you, leave a like right now and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot we're still going to reveal here, and each story is a piece of the puzzle of your own transformation. In the next episode, you will learn about the case of a man who didn't fight, didn't chase, didn't beg for anything, but something about his frequency was so aligned that reality bowed before him, and what seemed like luck was, in fact, pure vibrational mastery.